Hey everybody, welcome back to another Comic Corner episode. And guest starring with me this time, you guys know Mike, he's behind the camera.
Hello.
And guest starring via Skype is Spidy, Spider-Man 1991, and Toxciity.
Hello. Yo, how's it going?
And today we're here to do the last book that I promoted in the last book review, Mr. Majestic. From now on, the book reviews are going to be blind. However, there was a book I pre-ordered way back when that finally ships. Well, it came out today. It ships soon if you guys are following my Twitter, which is now on my channel under websites. Because apparently I forgot I had that little option and never filled that in. It's there now, so if you've been following me on Twitter, you know what book I'm talking about. I'm not saying when that book is going to be on a book review though, because it could come here anywhere between next week and the following week. So there's probably going to be, if it comes in 2 weeks, there'll probably be a book or two in between it. So Mr. Majestic we're talking about this time from Wildstorm. This book has the first 6 issues plus the hard to find Alan Moore issue of Mr. Majestic. There are 3 more issues that went on in the Mr. Majestic first volume story set. I do not own them yet. I will be buying them fairly soon. They're very cheap on Midtown. And then I'll have the complete first volume run on Mr. Majestic. In this book though, you have the first 6 stories. One story, the stories actually take place, the very first story takes place back when Richard Nixon was president. And then this book ends actually at the year 2000. So that tells you how long, how far between each story. There's a gap, there's year gaps in between. Also, the artwork is by Ed McGuinness, and as always, his artwork is amazing, as you guys can see. Mind you, these are the same people that worked on Superman, especially Joe Casey at the time was writing Adventures of Superman, and we all know Ed McGuinness did do a run on Superman in his comics also. As shown right here in this picture, they do homages to Superman. Even the face on this character, as you can see, looks like Superman. You'd swear you're reading a Superman book, only Superman is wearing a different costume. But no, Majestic actually is a completely different character. He's from a planet called Kahira. I cannot pronounce it for the life of me. Here's another picture where he looks kind of like Superman. Now, none of these guys here, Tox and Spidey and Mike, none of them know Mr. Majestic offhand. However, Tox, I know you're buying Nemesis, whom is Majestic's wife.
Yeah.
So, and she does make an appearance in Volume 2 of Mr. Majestic, but I don't have trade paperbacks of that. I have regular comics of that. At some point, I might actually find those books and do a review on them. Just not at this moment. So anyway, first story is all about the galaxy, him moving the galaxy because it was recorded or somewhat, and he wants to move all the planets out of the way, so this way when these beings come, if they're invading, everything will be in a different spot or something like that. The first story was kind of like, okay. Second story was about a little girl who could manipulate time. Third story was my favorite, where he's or second story, I believe it's either the second or third story. All they do is between stories they'll give you like a title page where it'll say book 3. Was my favorite and fun. It was the funniest one where Mr. Majestic goes out on a date with Maxine, whom is this woman who's mostly cybernetic, potty mouth, everything included. I enjoyed it emphatically. There's a popcorn scene. I will show it. This is an old book. Right here where she actually knocks the popcorn off Mr. Majestic, and the way he's just sitting there frozen in place. Did you get that, Mike, as you're watching? Yeah. It was hilarious. And then in the end, he uses his heat vision to start to pop the kernels, and she's like, just how anal are you exactly? And I was like, wow. So that was a good book. Then there's another book where this guy is like an infinite wormhole, and Majestic wakes his son up finally. His son is alive again. And that's depicted here. You can see most of these in the covers. The covers alone basically tell the whole story. I will say that about the first volume of the Majestic series. And his son gives his life to save the world, just like his father would. Majestic, I know a lot of people say he's anal and stuff. There are parts where Mr. Majestic is a very anal character. Like he's very, his personality is very cold or very, look, this is the mission and this is where it goes. But at times, I feel like I'm reading a regular Superman comic. He's there, he saves people, he puts the people above himself, and he just has a Superman feel to him. So I really don't feel like there's a big difference between, like, there's a big anal part of him, so to speak. He's a really, in my opinion, in this book series at least, he wasn't as anal as everybody says he was. Book 5 was all about intergalactic space villains. Their ship crashes on Earth and they escape their cryogenic sleep, and it's up to Majestic to put them back and send them back off into space, which he does. Book 6, which is the last book from the mainstream series, was kind of weird. All the girls you just saw on that cover basically are vying for Mr. Majestic's affection, but he's under some type of a spell where he can't move anyway. And then finally he kind of gains a bit of control and he breaks free of them while something's happening on Earth with Desmond, and this guy wants to kill him. And Majestic shows up in the nick of time and then saves him. And then we get that one shot where it's, actually it's in the back right here. It says, bonus, in addition to this volume, it contains a rarely seen tale of Mr. Majestic at the end of time, written by Alan Moore and illustrated by Carlos Deonda. So this is the only story in the entire book that is not illustrated by Ed McGuinness, but the artwork is still really, really great. And Alan Moore is a great writer. It was really good. It showed the end of the universe and then the rebirth of the universe and how Mr. Majestic was kind of absorbed into everything. All in all, artwork in the entire book, including the bonus story, is really good. Would have been better though, because Majestic ended, Mr. Majestic's first volume ended on issue 9. That's 3 more issues. I don't understand why they didn't put the 3 issues in here. Unless this was released before the 9th issue, then I understand why. But if it wasn't, I don't understand why they didn't just put the last 3 issues in this book also. It would have been nice to have just a full run. For 3 more issues, they could have upped the price. The price on this book is $14.95, but I'm sure you can find this on Amazon for like $8, $9. It was really good. By the way, this is the back, just for you guys to see the back. It is a trade paperback, soft cover. I don't believe they made a hardcover of this. I know there are trade paperbacks for Volume 2, but I own the comics of Volume 2, so I can't really buy the trade paperback to do a book review on them. However, I might, at some point, if I find the full run of the volume, do some type of a review. Mr. Majestic was one of my favorite Wildstorm characters. Now, we all know Wildstorm and DC have now fused. It would be nice to see Mr. Majestic at some point show up, especially because his main foe was the Demonites, I want to call them. And those villains, or aliens so to speak, are showing up in February in Voodoo, Grifter, and Stormwatch. Those are his main villains in Volume 2. Would be nice to see Mr. Majestic at some point come back and kick their asses. Just my opinion. The costume is really awesome. This is his standalone series, but he did shine a lot better, or a little bit more, in Wildcats, the last volume of Wildcats, and issue 11 of Volume 1 of Wildcats is where he shined a lot as well. This is basically just standalone. Wildcats do not make even a guest appearance on here. So if you want to see more of Mr. Majestic, check out Wildcats Volume 1, and I believe it's Volume 2 or 3. I believe it's Volume 2 though, because I think Volume 3 was 3.0, and that very little had to do with Mr. Majestic, if anything at all. I don't know. At some point I would like to collect Wildcats to find out. At this moment though I can't. Money very tight. So I would say this book is a really awesome read. If you're looking for something not mainstream, something that's like Superman but isn't Superman, something different, I would highly, highly, highly recommend Mr. Majestic. I loved it back when I bought it. Do they have a year where this was released? Because I believe I bought it the year it was released, and I don't think there was actually there is a timestamp, so to speak, on this book. No. There's no timestamp.
Wasn't it in the late 90s?
It was definitely... No, I think it was the early 2000s, as a matter of fact. I'm not sure. It could have been the late 90s. Yeah, there's no timestamp on this, so to speak. No. No timestamp. Oh, wait. Yeah, there is. 2000.
Oh, wow.
And 2002. The series ran from 1999 to 2001 or 2. That's what I'm reading from the bottom over here, because it says it says 1997, 1999, 2000. I know 97 is when Wildcats start. No, 92 is when Wildcats started. Spotlight was in 97. 99. Fuck it. It says 97, 99, 2000. What the hell do I know? Apparently this book, however, was made in 2002. Around then. Wildcats made their appearance in the early 90s, and then the mid-90s is when Volume 2 came out, I believe. This book was made in 2002, and I've had it since about that actually makes sense. I've had this book since around 2002. I've read it several times. I would highly recommend it. I think you guys would get a kick out of this book. It's something that is not Superman, yet at the same time it has that superhero feel. It's very promoted. The huge catch here is Mr. Majestic is a big hero comics, larger than life adventures, superhero tales on the grandest scales imaginable. And that's just a piece of it. Oh, here, it says right here, remember when superheroes could move planets? Mr. Majestic. I would highly recommend this book to everybody. It's really, really good. You guys have anything you want to add, Spidey, Tox?
Well, I mean, I did hear... you've mentioned Mr. Majestic before and stuff, and it really made me want to check out the book, and I did try to find it today at a local comic shop, but they didn't have it, so...
Even on Midtown, the trade paperback is sold out. I think the only place you might have a chance of finding it is on Amazon. If not, you could just single issue it, because I know Midtown has issues 1 through 9.
Right. I think I might try eBay.
Mm. If not, you could do 1 through 9 on Midtown, and you only pay about $15. That's about the same price as this book, minus the Spotlight issue.
Okay, I'll consider it for now, but Christmas and all that.
Yeah, exactly. That's the problem. We are in the holiday season, guys. When this video is being shot anyway, I have no idea when you guys are viewing it. Tox?
I've known about the Wildcat universe, or Wildstorm with the Wildcats and whatnot, mainly because Todd McFarlane, he did do a lot of the figures and whatnot during the time he was still doing those old Spawn issues.
Yep.
When he was doing the toy line, he was working on like Grifter and all those other characters. I'm not a Mr. Majestic kind of guy. I just don't like him. It's just because he portrays way too much as Superman, but he's the asshole-like version of him. But I
wouldn't call him an asshole. He isn't an asshole, like I said in this book. He's really not that much of an asshole. He is a smart ass at times, but I wouldn't call him an asshole. Maybe in Wildcats he's an asshole, but here he's not. In this book series,
okay, so we can say arrogant though in that capacity, right? Or
not even. I would maybe very little though, very tiny bit if any. He was more arrogant. I'll be honest, he was more arrogant when he made his crossover with Superman and then Volume 2 came out. In this series, he wasn't really arrogant at all. Later on, he became arrogant.
Okay. Well, do you think they did the arrogance just to kind of separate him from Superman?
Yeah, especially because he crossed over with Superman. See, right here in this story, it was before the Superman crossover, and before, obviously, it's before Volume 2. So, he did become arrogant during the Superman crossover when he was in the Superman comics, and he had that issue 1 through 4 that was in DC Comics before going back to Wildstorm. But before that, in this book, he wasn't arrogant. No, I wouldn't say that.
No, alright.
Well, overall, I'm actually just more interested in seeing Nemesis' side of this whole story and whatnot, and see, because, I don't know, her character seems... I just like her character more, but I would say check out Mr. Majestic, especially if you're a Superman fan, you've always wanted, like, the polar opposite, or just, like, a character similar to him, then give it a shot.
It was really good. I enjoyed it. So guys, if you want a star rating, hell, it's a 4 out of 5. The only reason I take off a star is once again because there was only 3 issues left, and apparently they did have time. It's 2 years after the series ended, apparently, so they did have time to throw the other 3 issues in here. Other than that, book was amazing. Artwork, story, great. And that's Mr. Majestic. So, in the next issue, I have no idea what book. I have tons of books to choose from. I'm actually taking the books out of my box over here, and I'm going to be setting those on the shelf. So, I'm going to have a huge amount of books to, a huge amount of books to choose from. And believe me, there are newer books coming out in the coming year and before this year's end. So, I have a lot of books that I can cover. So, I'll see you guys next. I will warn you one thing, though. At this moment, though, I'd say a little bit over 50% of my trade paperbacks are Superman, though. So, I might try to space them out a bit, so this way it's not Superman, 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 Superman. But I am warning you guys, most of it is Superman. So, but they're major events that took place in the DCU also, so it's not spotlight Superman. There will be other superheroes in it, but they're mainly Superman books, so to speak. And there are solo Superman books as well. But that's for future book reviews. I'm just letting you guys know. But there will be newer books, newer trade paperbacks that come out that I will be checking out. So until next time, guys, take care. Hope you guys had a happy Thanksgiving, and here's to the holiday season.
Here, here.
Here, here.
Yes. Rock on.
And if you notice, I was looking up there. I was looking at a fly, by the way, guys. Because it's still flying around the room.
Where?
Over there.
Mr. Majestic, attack.
Okay.
Ah.
Check it out. See you guys next time.
Later.